Tonight on the Fanatic Forum, we are doing another deep dive into the Energon Universe because Seth has caught up thoroughly with everything that's going on up to date, and we've got a lot of things to discuss here. So we're going to do that. Plus, we've got new comic reviews and a little bit of a preview of All In coming up here on the Fanatic Forum right after this. Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Bueller. And of course, I can't do this show at all without my sidearm, my bestie, my co-host, my brother from another mother, the manhammer himself, Seth, the Junior Fanatic. What is going on, brother?
Oh, not much, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I'm well, man. No complaints here. I had a good day at the shop and, going into a good Saturday here, so shouldn't be too bad at all.
Nice. Yeah, I'm hanging out here in Manhammer Manor. I found this like great new series of books that I'm super enjoying. I like. Have you ever heard of Death's Head Press? It's like this indie publisher, but they publish
No,
these things. Yeah, they call these things splatter westerns, right? And imagine like all the Weird West stuff that you could possibly want. There's like 20 of these things out now, right? And but yeah, and it's like the first one was like this book called the Magpie Coffin, which is about like this undead gun, or he's not undead, he's a cursed gunslinger who has to
okay.
drag around a coffin of his mentor that has taught him to extract revenge in very gruesome and violent ways. You know, it's super awesome. Like the third book is about like this guy that has to fight like these Cthulhu monsters. The second one's the one I'm reading right now. It's called Hunger on the Chisholm Trail, and it's about like these or steer pushers, or whether pushing steer or taking cattle to market, but then they get attacked by wendigos. Yeah. These books are wild, man, but they're a blast. Yeah.
Sounds like it, man. I was gonna say that the one book you said the guys that drag around the coffin is a metro. That's a Django reference there.
Right, yeah. It's a Django reference, but it's not the Gatling gun in the coffin.
It's an actual body in the coffin.
Yeah, it is a corpse. Yeah, that does not decompose. But yeah.
We already got one comment popping here. Marianne, how you doing, sweetie?
Hello,
Good to see you. Yeah, Marianne's one of my buddies from old TV days there. So
I remember I met her.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, so good to see you, Marianne. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, I'm in a social media group with some of my alumni from the station, and man, it's like retirement season is hit hard. Like, there's been a couple of old stalwarts just retired. There's a couple more they're retiring next week. I'm like, yeah. So,
dang, that makes you feel old when people you know and worked with for a long time have retired.
Yes, it really does. So yeah. So wow. But anyway, time she does fly by. That is for sure.
Indeed.
So, we love you too, Marianne. We appreciate you here. Bradley popping in here. Guten Tag to you,
hello.
sir. Wie geht es Ihnen? For our German friends out there.
9. That's all I know from Die Hard.
He was just saying good evening, and I said, "How's it going?" So.
Oh, okay. If we were switching to German, I couldn't hang long. So.
But I took 3 years of German in high school, but I haven't used it in like 40 some odd years. So I remember very little of my German teachings. But yeah,
fair enough.
But Sue Huff was my teacher back in the day, and she was a nice lady. They're a very good teacher.
Nice.
I probably gave her a lot of crap she didn't deserve, but she's a very good teacher and a nice lady nonetheless.
I know. Don't you always feel bad when you think about it? It's like, man, I was kind of a jerk, whatever. That one teacher was obviously trying to help me.
Yeah.
But it was like I was a stupid adolescent.
I mean, in college, I was probably a lot more tolerable, but yeah, high school.
Right, yeah. Oh gosh.
I mean, I had some teachers that did like me, but there's probably some teachers that liked me that shouldn't have, but they were just good people. And there you go.
Yeah. Oh, a small story. Yeah, sophomore year,
Okay.
like I was a theater kid, right? I was a theater kid all
Hmm.
through high school, at various
Sure.
points. And there was this one lady who was like she always volunteered. She was like somebody's mother. I can't remember who, but like my sophomore year, I just said something stupid, like that was like borderline just snarky, mean, jerkified. Like that, like
Hmm.
she didn't deserve it, whatever it was, and she didn't bat an eye about it or whatever. Well, it's like that stuck with me, and like my senior year. Like, I actually went and apologized to her for about that, and she's like, "Do you think you're the first kid that's ever smarted off to me?" It was like, "Well, okay, no," but she's like, "Thank you for apologizing, but, you do have to have a thicker skin to do this."
But still, though, it was probably meant more that you were, had, at least, a little bit of,
A
wherewithal to
self-awareness,
want
yeah,
to,
yeah,
apologize. Yeah.
yeah, that's kinda what I was thinking about too, yeah, it's like, at least, I had the sense to do that,
Hmm.
but
Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's get started with a little bit of geek news here, because, well, for one, you guys were talking about this a little bit last night on the Smokes and Road Beers podcast. By the way, good plug time here. If
thank you.
you're not following, or this way here, I always get the thing backwards here.
I know, me too.
Following my brother from another mother, Seth, on the Smokes and Road Beers podcast, you need to be doing that here. 6:30 Eastern on Facebook and the Rumble, which is a
Mhm.
platform I'm not familiar with, but it's kind of another YouTube kind of thing. I think it has more like a certain conservative leaning to it. But you guys have
Yeah.
there and seem to be one of the more popular shows on there. And you guys,
Yeah, yeah, we seem to do, like, fairly decent. Now, I'm not talking, like, hundreds or anything, but, we're, like, hitting maybe double digits, and we're probably, like, the 3rd most watched program on there or
see, there
something.
you go.
Not quite,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's,
well, but it's kind of nice though, because it's like you guys are usually not talking about politics on there when everybody else is. So it's like it's an alternative to what's on there. So it's like, yeah, it's
right,
pretty good.
yeah, maybe
It
that is
worked
a
out.
kind of a little secret to that success. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, because I've seen everything that's on there. It's like there's a lot of conspiracy and like you know
Yeah,
basically conservative leaning sort of stuff. They're like, okay, everybody's kind of speaking the same language, and you guys are kind of like, hey, let's talk about video games, let's talk wrestling, let's talk comics, let's talk movies and stuff like that.
right, yeah. Well, yeah, I was looking through there like one time just to see, what other stuff was streaming like around the time we were, and it was like, let's play Resident Evil 4 and talk politics. And I'm like, that sounds like a terrible way to spend an evening to me. But
I mean, I'm with you on the Resident Evil 4 part, but I
right, yeah, but the other part, yeah, that would just kind of ruin the whole experience, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. Oh God
Uh,
bless. It's like people just want to. Politics aren't fun, man. It's like, oh well.
no,
It's like,
no.
yeah, I did enough of that crap, working news for almost 20 years, man. So it's like, nah, it's like, I learned the great thing is like, I'm up on the geek news and like what's going on with the stuff I'm interested in, but like world news, current events, whatever else, I'm literally learning maybe 48 to 72 hours later after, they happen. So
Right.
that's really freeing. It really is.
No, I can totally see the appeal of that. Yes.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing. So, all right. So, first off, geek news here. All In is happening this coming Sunday. AEW's biggest pay per view of the week or of the year, of the year,
Yeah.
happening in Wembley Stadium in London. So, big show as always. And then, of course, the thing that's hilarious with AEW, their promotion, they're already promoting next year. Like, usually, like, WWE waits until, like, the event itself, and they're like, hey, next year we're going to be here. But it's like, AEW started promoting next year's All In the week before All In.
Right. Yeah, last year, I think they just announced it. Yeah, they started or they started promoting it the day of All In, for this year. But yeah, that now they started the week before, and they've already announced Forbidden Door for next year is gonna be in London as well. So,
Yeah. So,
All In is not in London next year, but Forbidden Door is. So there is still gonna be a huge show over there, yeah.
yeah, we're
But
doing
yeah,
a rope it, but that's fine. And
right.
frankly, it'll probably be, I guess, maybe less travel for the Japanese people.
Yeah, you're
I
right,
don't know, maybe
yeah,
the
I
same
didn't think about
amount. I
that.
don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, but no, you're absolutely right because there a
yeah,
lot of them actually even still do like the European and English stuff, when they're not in Japan.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, that worked out. So, Hey, I was talking to some of my people I have on the streams when I'm selling comics. We were already talking All In earlier in the week, and of course, the big talk there was Will Ospreay versus MJF for the newly christened American title. It was
Yeah.
recently the what was it, the Continental title or
It wasn't the crap. The Atlantic or
that's it, the North
the
Atlantic
North
or
Atlantic, yeah, or something. It wasn't Continental anything, I don't think. Because
yeah,
yeah, there was
Continental. That's the one that Orange Cassidy had that I don't know who has right.
yeah.
AEW has too many titles.
Yeah, they really do. Like I think Bill and I were looking at this. Every match tomorrow or Sunday is a title match of some sort, you know.
Well, that's a New Japan. That's a New Japan show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because every New Japan show, every match is a title match because New Japan has 16 titles. So
Right. Yeah. There's the trios title, there's the tag title, there's the Super Juniors tag titles, there's the heavyweight tag titles. Yeah. You can easily get a title if you can survive through the Young Lion Dojo. You were probably guaranteed a title in New Japan at some point.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I don't
But
love it. I love my New Japan.
I know. Yeah, that's the thing too. You know, of course, there's always a lot of division and a lot of tribalism in wrestling, but I'm very much of the mindset of like, if you like wrestling, it doesn't matter. Like, I watch everything that I can. You know, I watch WWE, I watch AEW, I get on Pluto and watch AAA stuff on there. It's probably old, most of it's old stuff anyway. But I mean,
Right.
I love Lucha Libre. When I can watch some New Japan stuff or whatever else, I like getting on there. So, but I enjoy wrestling all over the place. Now, granted, some is better than others. Some do their booking better than others. You know, whatever else. But it's all cyclical. You know,
Oh yeah.
2 years ago, we were hating WWE and saying AEW is a godsend, and now we flip flopped
Right.
and saying AEW creative is bad and WWE is white hot on fire. Which,
Right.
I mean, these are all facts, but nonetheless, it's like,
And the pendulum will swing back again. I'm pretty sure it always does. I honestly never thought the WWE would be this high ever again.
I don't know.
Especially after all the stuff that was going on with them. Not even the freaky McMahon stuff, but just like how they were already like just tanking themselves so hard.
Yeah, but just creative is white hot right now. They're pretty much selling out almost every place they go.
Yeah,
I mean, it's literally like they're drawing crowds again, like, you know, going back to Attitude Era, going back to even, you know, the 80s, you know, the golden age kind of stuff.
right.
So yeah, it's like yeah, it's just it's insane the kind of crowds. And of course, you know, I regularly listen to Cornette's podcasts, his two that he has, and one thing he absolutely points out on Raw and SmackDown, you see some action, but you're seeing a lot of segments and a lot of talking. So
Yeah.
they save the actual wrestling for the premium live events. So it's like you're watching. If you go to a Raw SmackDown, you know, live show, you're basically watching a whole lot of dialogue happen.
Yeah, and see, that's something that I take kind of an issue with. Like, that's why Raw is still a hard watch for me. Is because of all and don't get me wrong, some of the segments, like, I do want to see, like,
Sure,
but then there's
absolutely.
other stuff like, like I do want give me some jobber matches, man. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
bring some of those back. Tell a story in the ring with the wrestling match itself,
Yeah,
like, maybe somebody's gunning through a title, they have to get so many wins or, something stupid like that. Any number of reasons. Just give me more action in the ring. That's one of the reasons why I appreciate AEW so much is because they still try to have, consistent action
right.
throughout the whole thing. But yeah,
Absolutely. It seems that recently SmackDown, once again, Raw is kind of a chore to go through because it's still a 3 hour show. It's a long slog. There's some segments you want to see, whether it be like the Wyatts or, you know, whatever else is going on with Rollins or, you know, if you the stars that have got on Raw, whatever segments are going on there, you're kind of interested and engaged what's going on with that. And then
right.
over on SmackDown, you've got a lot of storyline with the bloodline and everything that's going on there. But you also at least guaranteed one match that's going to go more than 2 segments. Like last
Yeah.
week, We had Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, and holy crap, that was a banger. Two,
I didn't get to see that one.
I mean, that was a wrestling match. Two dudes going at it, lots of false finishes, good athleticism, good booking. They didn't do anything stupid. There wasn't a lot of like interference or whatever else. And like Carmelo pulled out kind of a cheap win a little bit,
Yeah.
kind of be like a dirty roll up sort of thing like that. Keeping in track with him, it didn't make Andrade look bad, so it was well booked, well done. But man, great wrestling match. So it seems like SmackDown's recently good for like one solid match. It's got to last a couple of segments.
Right, yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right with AEW. Yeah, it's like there may not be any story that goes on or any story that's consistent from week to week, but you're definitely going to get action through the show.
Right.
So yeah, you're 100% about that. But yeah, I said like right now, like TNA is starting to kind of get build up a little bit more because of their partnership with WWE, which is
which I still hesitate to call a partnership per se, but
well, let's put Regal's kid Charlie Dempsey. He's been doing a whole bunch of stuff over in TNA recently.
Oh,
So
okay. So they actually have sent someone over.
yes,
Okay.
It's been NXT kids.
Yeah.
But Charlie Dempsey's probably one of the bigger ones they've had over there that's spent some significant time. It's got a little bit of a rivalry going on there, but that's about it. So yeah, but it's been pretty one. Basically, this is all a big ploy just to steal Joe Hendry from TNA.
Right. Yeah. Well, Jordan Grace is already pretty much a lock there anyway. Once her contract's up. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's. I think they went for Jordan Grace and they stayed for Joe Hendry because they already kind of knew about her and like, oh, this Joe guy, he's kind of catching on here. Okay.
What's funny to me is Joe Hendry is basically WWE already. Like he's allowed to, train in the performance center. It's like he's getting paid by WWE. Like Impact
He can
or
do
TNA.
both shows. Yeah.
Right, yeah, he can do both shows. Like he pretty much is a WWE employee at this point. Yeah, which more power to him. I ain't hating on him. Yeah, take it if you can get it. Ain't hating on
Exactly,
that.
but
Yeah,
it's just kind of like that. That's unique. But
right.
we're dealing with a lot in the Triple H era. We're dealing with a lot of unique things here. So
Yeah,
not all bad. That's for sure. But yeah, like I said, we got All In this weekend. Definitely, there's a couple of matches that are being talked about the most. The Bryan Danielson Swerve Strickland title match, which Danielson's career is also on the line.
right.
And of course, we mentioned the NJF.
Are we just doing the rundown now? Because we're already like 10 minutes into it. So.
Oh no! We're just kind of highlighting the two big matches. Really, the only thing we're kind of highlighting. But yeah. But no, like I said, it's going to be a fun show. I'm sure we'll definitely talk about it. We're back here in a couple of weeks as well, or if I'm on Smokes and Road Beers earlier than that. But yeah, but we definitely do need to get into our new comics this week because I got a good stack of stuff here.
Yes, let me see these comics, and then I can go, George, get me one of them. And yeah.
All right. Well, starting off here with our Marvel stuff. This was a late pickup that I got. I didn't initially get this on Wednesday, but I kind of saw some reviews like, okay, I'll give this a look-see here. But we have the new Wolverine Revenge miniseries that's out here. A list team on this one. Jonathan Hickman is the writer on this one. Greg Capullo does the covers and the interior art. This is Greg Capullo's first ongoing Marvel series in a very long time. So he's a superstar artist, best known for Spawn, for Batman during the New 52. Awesome stuff here.
And it's funny that you mentioned him too, because I had like a couple of weeks ago actually read some more of my Spawn compendium, where he really had like his art started to take off, and like you can tell like where he's mimicking McFarlane pretty well, and then starts to become more of his own thing, and it still kind of adapts and blends both styles.
Yeah.
And it's like his art is probably one of the reasons why that book is still is solid as it is, even though like kind of dipped in quality in the writing for a while.
It really is, yeah. Yeah, you're 100%. That's the thing is he was very much a student of McFarlane, but he almost kind of surpassed McFarlane's art, in my opinion, frankly.
Yeah.
You're right. He kept that book going for a very long time and cut his teeth completely on that one. So,
oh yeah. Yeah.
You're 100% right about this one. So this is a fun series because much like the Marvel Blood Hunt event that just happened, the vampire one, where it came in a standard format and then also an explicit red band format, this Wolverine Revenge series follows that same model. Last week we had the Werewolf by Night red band series, which only comes in an explicit red band version. And also, Blade has a new series coming up that's basically piggybacking off of the events of Blood Hunt, but it's a new ongoing series for him, I believe, starting either late September or early October. It will only also be a red band version as well. But this
So it's
one,
Marvel's excuse to not have to make like a second printing of a censored, a censored book. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, but they can add in more blood and guts and whatever else. And issue
Right.
number
Right.
one does not disappoint. Matter of fact, the front covers are different. If you get the standard cover, everything that's red and him covered in visceral stuff like that is all like green, or they make it look like sweat. Whereas the red band, it's all blood.
Oh, they went Mortal Kombat Super Nintendo style and turned it into sweat. That's terrible.
Yes,
Ew.
yeah, sure, they sure did. Yeah.
No.
The fun thing about this series, so everybody assumed that this is a mini series that's connected to current events, to the Krakoan era that just ended, all that stuff. Uh-uh.
I was gonna say that
This
Wolverine costume is not. Yeah, that's like early '90s Wolverine.
exactly. We're
Yeah.
talking, this is a 92 era X-Men stuff. So this is kind of a sandbox what if sort of storyline here. So the plot is for whatever unknown reason, asteroid M enters Earth's atmosphere. Magneto is killed. He breathes his last breath. When that happens, the northern hemisphere goes dark because he releases an EMP when he dies. And asteroid M crashes into Canada. So Canada doesn't exist, and America and Mexico and most of everything else until you get to basically like South America, there's no power, there's no nothing. So a small group of Shield operatives, including Nick Fury, were happened to be on the other side of the world when this all happened. You've got Captain America, which is available. The only weird part is Winter Soldier is involved in this storyline. And that's the only thing that doesn't jive because basically Cap hasn't met Winter Soldier yet in this kind of continuity. So he
Right.
should
Yeah.
so
That
he
doesn't
should
happen
have
for like
no
another 20 years.
so unless Cap is seeing this Winter Soldier guy and is not aware that that's Bucky, I don't know. But don't worry, that they kind of clear that stuff up real quick in this first issue, so you don't have to worry about pondering that sort of little thing here. And I'm not going to exactly explain why, but again, explicit and sandbox. So this means no holds barred. And if we want to kill Captain America off in the first issue, we can.
Wait a minute.
uh,
I'm gonna make a guess about the Winter Soldier. So
yeah.
it was either one of two people. Number one being Clint Barton whenever he was not Hawkeye and was running around as everybody else, like because wasn't he Goliath for a while?
He
Or
was,
like
yes.
yeah,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Or it
Mhm.
was Johnny Blaze without the Ghost Rider gimmick when he was traveling the world as Nomad.
I love you for your deep cuts, but you're wrong on both counts. It's Bucky.
Okay, okay,
But
okay.
but again, like I said, we get past that stuff real quick. But again, because it's also time period appropriate, the bad guys we are facing in this particular storyline is a new group of Brotherhood of Evil mutants led by Mastermind, and his
Oh,
other cohorts are Sabretooth, Omega Red, and Deadpool. And this, of course, is 92 era Deadpool. So we're not talking the fun-loving Merc with the mouth, the Jerry Duggan, Brad Hossein written guy. We're talking about the guy who's still technically a bad guy.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that leaves his girlfriend to die and bleed out in a pool in an issue of X Force. Yeah.
Yep, that dude. Yep, that
Yeah.
guy. So this is kind of a fun little different sandbox series in a different era of stuff, and we can get a little violent in here as well. And of course, we have a superstar team. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was impressed with the first issue. I'm going to keep going with it.
Nice. Yeah, as soon
Next
as I
thing
saw
here,
that costume, I was like, that is a '90s Wolverine right there. That was like
yeah.
my prime X-Men era, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that should have been a dead giveaway for when I read the book, but I didn't. I assume like everybody else, it's connected to current continuity. Nah, nah,
Right.
it's something different. Next book on the docket here, and this is a fun miniseries: Predator versus
Versus
Black
Black
Panther.
Panther. Holy crap.
Yes,
That could,
yes.
yeah, that's already awesome. I can tell you that. Just the idea of it. Yeah.
So the Predator Wolverine miniseries that happened was kind of it took place in the modern day, but also happened in different time periods because basically Wolverine and the Predator faced each other, in multiple periods throughout Wolverine's life. But of course, if you know Wolverine continuity, his mind and memories have been messed with on multiple occasions, so he didn't remember most of those interactions. But the Predator did. This storyline's a little different here because basically what it is, we have a chieftain that has two sons. So there's a favored son who's basically he's the strong big one. Daddy loves him. He's the favorite. He gets all the big toys on Christmas. And then you've got the other son who's got if you could tell here, he's got a uh, robot leg.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah. So a predator with a missing leg is basically kind of like, oh, this is a bastard child here. He's weaker than the other. He's not wanted because he's deformed. That's how the predator, the Yautja culture goes. So
Right.
he's got a chip on his shoulder. He wants to impress dad and be the big guy, but he's got something standing in his way. Well, there's a family heirloom that is a staff made of vibranium that has been with the predators for centuries. So, son decides, well, let's go hunt for some vibranium. Oh, well, I see some deposits here and here and here. Oh, well, there's this planet called Earth. And oh, Wakanda's got the mother load of vibranium. So that's why he's
Yeah.
there.
Nice.
The interesting thing is that the predators have a very similar cloaking technology than what the Wakandans also use to cloak their own city. So we're basically on a similar technological level, but the Wakandans don't know the predators are coming.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they kind of block Shuri out in a very clever sort of way. So kind of they didn't know they were removing a very important piece of the puzzle of their defense out of the way, but they kind of got her out of the city. And so basically you've got, a very clueless Dora Milaje and the other royal guardsmen and the secret royal guards and T'Challa. They're like, okay, they know something's in the area causing trouble, but they have no idea what they're going into.
Right. Oh, wow.
And that's the first issue. So it wasn't as much action; it was a lot of setup, but it was great setup.
Right. Right. Oh, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Last for our Marvel stuff here. This is the final issue of Ghost Rider: Final Vengeance, number 6 here. So this is a mini series where Zarathos, the spirit of vengeance, literally left the body of Johnny Blaze and goes into another body, and we find out that it is Parker Robbins, aka the Hood, a small-time criminal who has a supernatural hood that basically allows him access to the Dark Force and demons and stuff like that. But it's sort of a device, an item that's sort of taking him over a little bit. So he's getting darker as the thing goes here. Basically, a kid that's had some aspirations, but was totally in over his head. Basically, Johnny has a conversation in this issue with Zarathos about basically like, why you're really with this guy. You know that you and I are linked. Let's get back over here. Even we get an appearance from Mephisto in here. But this was kind of a nice conclusion to Benjamin Percy's run on the 22-issue run of Ghost Rider and then the 6-issue run of Final Vengeance here. So unfortunately, this is Ben Percy's last Ghost Rider issue. He's moving on to other projects after this. This is not the last of Ghost Rider, though. We've got a new series coming up later in September called Spirits of Vengeance, but it has an entirely new creative team. I don't know who's popping up in this. I know it's going to include both Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch, and we may actually see Vengeance pop back up, which we haven't seen. Vengeance, who's the other Ghost Rider of the three brothers, we haven't seen him since the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was
So
always a Dan Ketch Ghost Rider guy. Yeah.
I know he was my first writer too. I mean, I didn't get to Ghost Rider until the '90s run, and so yeah, I've always been more partial to Danny too. But
Yeah.
Danny's been through some stuff recently, so he's back to
Yeah.
being he's back to being a writer again. But yeah, he's been a few different entities recently. Let's see. I got one comment popping up in here. Oh, Dave Mattingly popping here. Hey,
Oh,
Fanatics.
Dave.
Diamond Dave, how you doing,
How
sir?
you doing, sir?
All right. So I've only got one DC offering for this week, but DC had another light week this week here. But this is issue 2 of Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. So this is a sequel series to the original Dark Knights of Steel, which is kind of another. They're not calling this one. Well, the original run of Dark Knights of Steel wasn't called Elseworlds. Now they're calling it Elseworlds because they brought that branding back. So
Okay, good.
yeah, so now we're back to Elseworlds again here. But basically, this was a medieval setting, knights, kingdoms, kings and queens, all that kind of stuff like that. But you had all your favorite DC characters in that setting. So basically, the kingdom was ruled by the Kents. A very noble regal family, sort of thing like that. They had their favorite son, Kal-El, who was the prince, but they also had this other guy, Bruce Wayne, who was an orphan they picked up. Sort of thing like that. So,
Yeah.
we take a lot of the tropes and the known characters in the DC universe because, of course, like Aquaman's in this, Constantine, Wonder Woman, the Joker, Green Arrow, Black Lightning and his two daughters, Thunder and Lightning. So,
Yeah.
Amanda Waller plays a big part in it. So, a lot of familiar DC characters, but in a medieval setting. So, a very interesting 12-issue series. Highly recommend checking it out. All Winter, on the other hand, is the sequel series. So this basically deals with kind of the barbarians of the North. And of course, this one highly involves Deathstroke.
Okay, now does this have something to do with that Batman the Barbarian series coming out?
That is a different Elseworld series to come.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a different series. That's something because there's also going to be a werewolf Batman series also coming. So yeah, basically they relaunched the Elseworlds with a new Gotham by Gaslight series, the Kryptonian Age, and since then they've just been going hard in the paint on Elseworld stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff coming out before the end of the year of the new DC Elseworlds. But yeah, so yeah, Batman the Barbarian is something separate, but again another Elseworlds book.
Yeah.
But this is basically All Winter. It actually has two separate storylines going on in here. So the main storyline is Deathstroke the Terminator, dealing with him kind of in a barbarian sort of, he's basically kind of a Conan sort of thing here, except the world he lives in, the All Winter basically took away all color. So everything's black, white, gray, snowy, ice-ridden, whatever else. Well, then the character pops up that is nothing but color and has maybe some magical abilities, so kind of throwing a wrench in the works there. But you also get to see, of course, his daughter Rose pops up. Vandal Savage plays a role in this as well. So a few other DC characters popping up in here.
Huh.
The storyline is a prequel to the original that deals with the Kents, kind of the building of their kingdom. So you get to see a little bit of a prequel side there. But yeah, again, a lot of fun with a lot of your favorite DC characters in a medieval setting. But I like the change of tone when we're going into the North there. And like I said, everything's black, white, and gray.
Yeah. I just love like reimaginings like that. Like I'm a huge fan of the Elseworlds line in general, just because those are some of my favorite comics. Just because I always felt like an ongoing what if for DC,
Yeah.
and it was like and it wasn't quite as on the nose as Marvel stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love my Marvel what if
Oh,
too.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some of
No,
those are fantastic, but yeah. Like Holy
I know.
Terror, that was one of my favorite ones, where Batman was like, he was a preacher in like a
A weird
totalitarian
cult. Yeah.
weird cult like totalitarian state that was like he used religious terror and just some of the stuff like when he finds the Justice League and everything. Yeah. So while we're on the subject, let me ask you this: do you consider
Sure.
Dark Knight Returns an Elseworld story?
Ooh, that's a good question. because they always said it's set in the future for Batman. So it's supposed to be Bruce Wayne's future, but it also could still be considered an alternate future.
Right. Well, there's no way that, like, there's so many cast of characters that, never get acknowledged in any of the Dark Knight books,
Right.
but yeah, that was one thing that always just kind of stuck with me was like, is it the first, or not the first, but is it an Elseworld story that's just never marketed that way?
No, technically, no, it would be because it predates Gotham by Gaslight, and the original Gotham by Gaslight is
Oh
considered the first
yeah.
Elseworld. So it does predate it.
Oh yeah.
So
Actually, you know what? We
you
should
might be
officially
onto
make
something.
that. We should officially make that the stance of the Fanatic Forum that the Dark Knight Returns is the first Elseworld story.
I'm down.
Yes. Let's see if we can get that movement. Hashtag that, y'all.
Yeah,
Dark
yeah,
Knight was the
we're
first.
taking a stand.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Elseworlds.
Right.
Well, since we're on the subject of Batman here, Bradley's got a question for us. This is a good ponder here.
Okay.
So, favorite Batman villain, and he'll start. He likes Mad Hatter.
Oh. Okay. You go. You go next because I got mine already in the chamber. Well, if you need to think about it,
I'll
I'll
say,
go
well,
ahead.
I'll say off the top of my head, like, I mean, because granted, like Joker's a classic, you can't go wrong with him, sort of thing like that. But my personal favorites, I love Victor Zsasz because he's just a crazy guy. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just a crazy guy who murders people and then basically makes notches on his skin every time he kills somebody.
Right. Yeah.
But just the fact that he's completely unhinged and just, yeah, that makes him absolutely terrible. So I like that fact about him. I'm also a big Bane fan.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and not just because of the Mexican wrestling thing, because that's kind of the fun part about him. But he's a master strategist and a planner and a
Yeah.
plotter, and has a lot of patience.
Yes.
And you
Now that.
almost kind of have to be that for that kind of master strategist.
Yeah. That was the one thing that, I loved in Nightfall. He just, like, he figured out who Batman was through logic. It takes him X amount of time to reach here, when, yeah, it was crazy. For me though, I gotta go, like, the one story that will always top one of my all-time favorite villain and made him my favorite villain, Dark Knight, Dark City with the Riddler.
Ooh,
And yeah, and that one is when, so everybody thinks the Riddler is just, like this weird little, like, kooky character that, speaks in riddles, and he's got these weird little schemes. No, he was a vicious killer in this one.
yeah,
Yeah, he, like, the first issue, like, there's like a body count of 4 and one of them was almost a baby. Like, he's driving Batman crazy, like, with all this insane stuff that he's doing. And and it's like occasionally other stories come through and almost touch on how great that Riddler was. Like Hush was close, like, even with that fantastic ending of, it's like, okay, yeah, you
hmm
know who Batman is, but what good's the secret, if you tell everybody, you
sure, yeah,
know. And that's actually the reason too why the Batman movie pissed me off so much with the Riddler, because they tried to make the Riddler something that he didn't need to be. They could have still
yeah,
gone like the Dark Knight, Dark City route with the Riddler and
hmm
had him like the super hardcore, edgy, terrifying killer,
yeah.
and still be the guy in the green suit with the bowler hat and, like, giggling and running away. But yeah.
That's kind of why I like the interpretation of the Riddler in the Pattinson Batman, because he was still the puzzle guy, made you figure things out, but he was also still a serial killer, and the whole gimmick with the henchman was brilliant
See,
because
that didn't work for me though. That's what I was saying. Yeah, like, I didn't care for that, but
well, see, here's the thing, though. It's like, yeah, in the old days or whatever else, you would have like a henchman, a room full of guys that you hired or whatever else. But like in today's social media, you could have millions of henchmen because you call them followers, and there's going to be enough of them to be crazy enough that you tell them, hey, you know what? If you're feeling compelled, why don't you go ahead and put on a mask just like mine? Go here, be armed, and do this thing for me, and then see who
it,
shows up.
And I'm 100% with you on that, but so given just everything that we know about the Riddler and even the first half of that movie where it is the Riddler, trying to leave clues and everything, like,
Mm-hmm.
like, it never really solidified to me too to have that Riddler suddenly become the social media influencer guy either. Like, it just never fit by how, like, that it didn't work for me. Like, that guy never seemed charismatic enough to have, the followers, or, that kind of thing. So that's just where the narrative didn't work
Yeah,
on my.
Yeah, I mean, I can see, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't see him on the line of like, a Kardashian, kind of influencer, or anything like that. But definitely, crazy draws crazy, and so if you get on YouTube and make a couple of posts, and it could draw some people. So I certainly enjoyed the line. I thought it was kind of an
Yeah.
original take of getting around the henchman sort of thing line.
Yeah,
So
there just wasn't enough Riddler in it for me. It's like it wasn't like none of that was Riddle based. None of that was, him like, I guess I'm more of like like a Gotham kind of Riddler, like from the TV show,
well,
like
yeah,
where
you
he was
want to
obsessed with
riddle
puzzles.
yeah, you want to riddle me this, and
Yeah,
a sort of thing. I get it, yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
this was a little bit obviously a little bit more modern, a little more darker version. But I at least appreciate the fact they didn't kill him off.
yeah, yeah. That is true. Now
He's
I want to go
alive to be able to do more bad things later.
right, and he's talking to the Joker. Like, yeah. But now
Yeah.
I want to go back to you talking about Mr. Zaz, right?
Oh yes,
So,
that's
like, I was thinking, like, how cool would it be, like, if they'd never make it in a million years, but you have a movie that just like you can call him Victor, like you call him Victor for the first half of it, right? And then it's
mhm.
like he's stalking people, he's killing people, he's doing the creepy cut things, right? And then you show it all from his perspective, and then until Batman finds him. And then
Yeah.
it's like you skip all of the Bruce Wayne stuff, you skip all of like the whole like inner turmoil thing, like you see it from the villain perspective of when Batman gets him, and Batman can be the horror movie monster. Like I
Hmm.
think that would be a heck of a movie to try and make, but they'd never do it in a million years because
I
Batman.
I like that though. Basically, a reverse Batman horror movie. So
Yeah,
it's from the Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
because you
with
could
on
even
that
like
one.
is with somebody like Mr. Zaz, it's like you could even build like the first half with like all the tension of him killing people and he's the monster until
Yeah.
finally there's something worse than him. And or the
Mm.
thing that's trying to apprehend him is scarier than he is.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. I like that. All
And
right,
then you can
so we
even
had
like throw in the gadgets and everything too. It's like, have them like not even like Zaz doesn't understand what he's doing because it's like it might even almost seem supernatural to him. But it's like once you realize it's Batman, then it's like you start to put to what Batman can do. And yeah, it's just never specifically stated.
that's
I don't know.
cool. I like that. I like that a
That's the
lot.
movie I'd write if I could.
I'd watch it. All right, so Dave is going to chime in here that his favorite villain would be Man Bat,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
or he also would throw in the Creeper.
That is an interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course Bradley brings up an interesting question: is like, is the Creeper technically an anti-hero of sorts? And the answer is yes,
Yeah.
he's both. So he's basically depending on who's writing him and what era of the Creeper, he's been both.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so I like that here.
Man, we got
Let's
some
see.
deep cuts on the Batman villains.
I love it. Yeah. So also I would throw in for
Oh,
another honorable mention, James Gordon Jr.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
man, Black Mirror, man, that is yeah, you got me that trade. Yeah, that's back on the shelf. I love that
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm. That's a
So
good one
freaking
there.
creepy. Yeah, Dave, I need
So
to watch those. Yeah, I still have not watched those. I keep forgetting that they're out there. But yeah, no, I want to watch them real bad. I'm gonna make it a point now that you mentioned it. But yeah,
I've
like
seen because the first one's on HBO Max, and I think the second one is too now. So
okay,
I think the first two are now streaming digitally.
okay. I know
So
you
you
can
should
buy or rent the third one. I know that it's out,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I just don't know if it's on the streaming platforms yet.
But yeah, you're right, Dave. It definitely is a reimagining. It's not a according to Hoyle adaptation of Crisis, but it is a adaptation of Crisis from the perspective of the ending of this particular DC animated universe.
Yeah. And
So
that's one of the reasons why I love DC so much, like with their whole idea of like the multiverse, is
mm,
because it's like, even like they're always self-acknowledging the other formats. Like the DC universe is more than just comic books, it's the TV shows, it's the movies as well. And
yeah,
that is part of that universe. So it's like, yeah, in one universe, like the characters are flat 2D images on a like singular plane. In other universes, they're animated. In other universes, they're, live action and voiced by Brendan Fraser. Like, yeah, yeah, it'll all tie back in at some point. Yeah.
oh, Dave got another one here. This is a fun outing we got to do, Seth. Evil Dead the musical is coming back into town.
Oh,
Um,
I would love to do that.
yeah,
Yes.
there was a local theater group that did it in Louisville last year. It was a scream. The first time I've seen it, because it's a really good amalgamation of the first two Evil Deads,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they keep the sister in longer, and they take was it Shelley or Shirley from the second movie, who does all the stuff that the Ash's sister does in the first movie. They take her out entirely because it's
Yeah.
superfluous. They don't need her.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've
but
seen it on YouTube, like the original one of the original cast versions. But like, do you know that they still keep updating the jokes to make them like contemporary?
yeah,
Yeah, that's the thing that makes it cool. Because even if like I watched it like 10 years ago on YouTube, like watching it now, it would be like still a significantly different experience. Yeah.
yeah. What's the name of the theater group that's going to put this on, Dave? I want to give them a plug because they were, like I said, last year they were absolutely fantastic. Had a great. And I'm not a musical type, but I'm like, okay, they're doing Evil Dead, and if you sit in the front couple of rows, they give you a tarp like you're at a Gallagher show because you're going to get sprayed with blood and other visceral stuff, and they're
Right.
not joking. You're going to get sprayed. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Great cast of people on there. So yeah, that's got to be that's a good Halloween outing there to do.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would love to do that.
All right, well, I got a few more indie books here to show you here, and I
All
got
right.
some good selections here this week. But again, absolutely loving the revival of EC Comics. I wasn't as big on the first issue of Cruel Universe, which was their sci-fi book. The first story that was in there was awesome. The rest of the book was kind of mid, so wasn't as big up on that. But Epitaphs from the Abyss, it's their second issue. It's a banger in every sense of the word. The first issue had 4 stories. This one has 3.
Okay.
It's very much the style of the EC comics. It's kind of those O. Henry style of storytelling where, you're going to learn a valuable lesson at the end of the story. You're probably going to be dead or horribly maimed or turned into some sort of grotesque thing, but you're going to learn a lesson.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, but all 3 stories are excellent. But the second story is a zombie story that is probably, for me, one of the most interesting and thought provoking zombie stories I've ever read in my life. It's like, why no one's done this. I don't want to spoil too much with it because I want folks to read this one and really check it out. But the why no one's really told this kind of point of view or style of a zombie story before, I
Yeah.
don't know. But it's so good. But of course, Lee Bermejo does all the covers for the A covers for Epitaphs, and you can't go wrong with my boy Lee. He is just a
Oh yeah, that
glorious
looks gorgeous.
artist. Yeah,
Calm
got all
down,
these
buddy.
demon kids here mauling the poor birthday clown. Dave chimed in here. So talking about the Evil Dead the musical, Mind's Eye Theater.
Theater.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, they're over at Art Sanctuary this year. But yeah, Mind's Eye Theater is the one who did it last year. Yeah, I think they did it at Art Sanctuary last year. I'm not 100%, but yeah, Mind's Eye put them on last year. Great group of people, great cast. So yeah, highly recommend checking out in the Louisville area if you're around. All right,
Okay.
back to the comic reviews here. Yeah, we're probably gonna go. So just let you know. The new issue of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. This is number 308. Since they moved over to Image Comics, of course, Larry Hama is still on the book. His current storyline he's doing, basically, we have got a Cobra triple civil war. 3 separate factions within Cobra are fighting amongst each other, and the Joes are basically just kind of hanging back, going, okay, we got a couple of things to do here, but we're going to let those guys fight it out. We're going to let those guys fight it out, and then we're going to slip in here and do what we got to do over here. So this is going to be a real easy run for us. So it's like they can almost take the day off, even though they're sending uh, uh, Snake Eyes, the Storm Shadow, and like all the top tier, like Scarlet's in there. All the top tier ninja guys are going over there doing a job. It's like you didn't need to send this much. It's like Cobra's literally going to destroy themselves as we speak. So it's like, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, just a lot of fun. They've been building this storyline, so we're kind of midway through it right now, and it's just been a blast. Like Larry's done Cobra Civil War stories before, but he's never done this one this big, and it's a blast. Absolutely love it.
Nice.
Another of our indies here. We were talking a little bit about Conan stuff. Issue
Yes.
14, the current Conan run here. This is a Jay Lee A cover here. Um, uh, last month I talked about the previous issue of Conan that I thought they were kind of doing a different sort of adaptation of my favorite Conan story, The Frost Giant's Daughter, one of the Robert Howard classics. This issue confirms it. We are doing an extended version of the Frost Giant, because Frost Giant's Daughter is one of my favorite Conan stories, but it's also one of his shortest
Yeah.
as well. So we're taking what is great and making it greater by making it longer. And Doug Braithwaite does the interior art. Jim Zub, of course, is still writing the book, but we've been switching between Roberto De La Torre, who's been doing his best John Buscema homage art when he's on the book, and then Doug Braithwaite's been coming in here, and I love Doug's art has been amazing as well. So I can't say enough good things about either the Titan Conan series or the Titan Savage Sword of Conan
Both of them are
revival.
so freaking good. Yeah. Oh man.
It's a perfect revival in every way, shape, and form. If you loved everything about like the '80s Marvel Conan, or if you enjoyed the Savage Sword of Conan magazines, it's just chef's
Yeah.
kiss.
And it's not restrained by any of the comic code stuff either. So it's like it's gorier. There is nudity from time to time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like Savage Sword was always like that. But yeah, just to have like the main comic, kind of it feels like Conan.
It
And
does.
yeah. And did you hear that Jim Zub, so part of his contract with Titan was that if the first year of Conan was a success, he got like they had to give him an Atlantean sword. And so like and that was legit. Like, yeah, so it's like he
Yes.
posted on Reddit, and so it's like he's got like a replica of Conan. It's like a real sword, that
Oh,
Titan had to gift him. Yeah. It's like, yeah, he deserves it, man. Like how
that's
many
awesome.
contractually obligated. Yeah.
I want a contract where I am obligated to receive a sword for my duties.
Yes.
That
Oh,
just
yeah.
yes,
That's,
that
like,
needs
such
to
a
happen.
Conan thing too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would be more Conan if he would have like been being chased by wolves and other brigands, stumbled into a tomb and had found it himself. But
Ri
this is a
right,
really
but
good
yeah.
second way. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
All right, and my last new book here. This was another late pickup. I did pick this up on Wednesday, but the cover kept intriguing me, so I dug into it, and I was a happy camper when I did here. But the first issue from Image Comics, this is Standstill.
Okay.
So this is written by Lee Lowridge, art by Andrew Robinson, who I'm not familiar with either of those two, even though Andrew Robinson's art, I absolutely love it. It's reminiscent of a few different artists here, but it's very pulpy. Really kind of very good line work, heavy kind of noirish sort of thing like that. But the storyline is that this particular gentleman on the front cover here is a criminal who has this device on his arm that can stop time. And so apparently he's committing crimes, doing all sorts of things, sometimes good, sometimes questionably of moral character or whatever else. Well, the designer of this particular device starts putting two and two together that the device was stolen. He initially thought it was a failed experiment. He was fired from the US government because of it. And then it's like, oh, wait, somebody took this thing and they're using it and it works. So he's trying to track this down. Well, then also now the US government's trying to get their property back as well, especially knowing that it works.
Right.
So, but this particular gentleman is the criminal in question here who's stolen the device. And I gotta say, he is one heck of a character. I
Yeah.
like him a lot. So he hasn't been named yet, so we don't know who the heck this guy is. But he's a brigand of the best sort there. So I'm a fan. So yeah, it's an 8-issue miniseries, and I'm on board with it. So I'm going to check it out.
Nice.
All right. Well, before we get into our Energon Universe discussion here, we're going to take a short break for comic books for kids. But then when we come back here, we got to delve deep into the Energon universe because Seth has caught up and he's got statements and questions and whatever else here. So we're
Yes.
going to get into it just in a bit. Right back.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
And we are back. All right. We're going head first back into the Energon universe. I got all my number ones here.
Oh, nice. You came prepared. Yeah.
Yes, got my Void Rivals here. The one that started it all.
The sleeper hit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, for those who aren't initiated with what the Energon universe is, because we've done an episode before here on the forum here, but this is the first time we've done it with having other people on here, not just me yapping about it. So, Robert Kirkman releases a new book through Image Comics called Void Rivals. We know it's a sci-fi book. We're like, cool, new Kirkman book. He created Walking Dead. He did Invincible. He's got some pedigree. We're going to check it out.
Right. He does like sorry, like he's done like weird little sci-fi. Like he did what with that Invincible spinoff, the werewolf book.
Oh yeah,
I forgot.
Astonishing or Amazing Werewolf or something like that.
Yeah, Amazing Werewolf. It was like a fun little 25-issue run. Oblivion Song, I think that was like a little 35-issue run. But it's like Kirkman. Yeah, Kirkman's. If he can write the long ones, but he can write consistent like little like he typically peppers his longer ones with shorter ones. So I think everybody thought Void Rivals was going to be like his new like little maybe like 25, 35 issue sci-fi deal. And
if that.
Right.
And so the storyline is basically, if you're familiar with kind of like a lot of sci-fi tropes, especially the 80s film Enemy Mine, you've got two people who are on opposing sides of a ancient war of civilizations. They crash land and are marooned on a planet, and they're basically trying to get off the planet to get back to their respective places. So like, okay, familiar storyline. I like the characters. I like where we're going so far here. 3/4 of the way in the book, jet fire from the Transformers is found by our two characters and is revived, and basically is like, oh, I landed here by accident. I'm trying to meet my friends because I left Cybertron and yada, 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 and then takes off bound to Earth.
Right. It's
everybody who's reading the book's like, what?
Yeah, it's like if you're watching like a TV show, like if you're watching ER, and then Captain Kirk and Spock beam down into the emergency room for a minute, and they're like, "Oh, our bad, we got to go save the whales," and just walk away.
Yeah,
it's like that's like the equivalent of that. Yeah, I remember reading about people that it just blew their minds, and it's
right here. I'm caught completely unawares by this. And so when it gets to the end of the issue, of course, they leave you on a nice little cliffhanger sort of thing like that. But there's a letter from Robert Kirkman basically welcoming us to the Energon Universe, a new shared universe that includes the Transformers.
Yes.
Yeah. And so basically, Void Rivals begat the Transformers miniseries. Or actually, it's not miniseries right now. It's 11 issues in, so we're beyond miniseries. But then what it also begat was the G.I. Joe miniseries. So we had 5 issues of Duke. We had 5 issues of Cobra Commander. We are now currently 3 issues in on Scarlet of a 5-issue series. Mm-hmm. And also 3 issues in on Destro of a 5-issue miniseries. With the G.I. Joe proper series coming in November.
Yes. And what's super cool about this is like when they say universe, they literally, it's not just, all this stuff's happening on Earth. They mean universe. Like Void Rivals is still telling its own story, but very much tied in to what's going on. Like there is an Energon crisis that the Autobots and the Decepticons are trying to to figure out. You know, they
Mhm.
needed to save Cybertron or to take over Cybertron, depending on which side you're on. You know,
Right.
and then and then you come to find out that events in Void Rivals are directly affecting events in Transformers, and that has kickstarted the GI Joe thing. And it's the whole the way that it's set up is brilliant. It's like this has excited me, like finding out how, like, the first time you heard about the Marvel universe, like how it was all connecting in the movies. This
Yeah.
is like this is my childhood connecting together, with all these great ways, and not like those 6-issue one-off miniseries that of the Transformers and GI Joe, which were
Yeah.
fun in their own right. But this whole series is dealing with other bigger questions too,
Yeah.
and like
Deeper. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and then go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, well, I was thinking, yeah, 'cause in the Void Rival series, we're seeing some Transformers crossover. We've seen no G.I. Joe crossover whatsoever because Void Rivals is taking place entirely in space. It's
Right.
on another side of the galaxy. So the crossover of Transformers we're seeing, though, is a lot of like, deep cut characters that were introduced after Transformers the movie, like the Quintessons,
Mhm.
and the Sharkticons, and stuff like that. The Scutzoids, the Bounty Hunters.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of stuff that was introduced later on. Whereas the Transformers book is taking place entirely on Earth, and there's been a tiny bit of crossover between Joe and Transformers, but it's been more along the lines of like an introduction, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely more of that going on. Like, of course, how, like, how Duke is introduced to the world of the Transformers is
mhm.
that was like one of my favorite scenes ever. And it's like spoilers, for this one, because Starscream is finding out how squishy Earthlings are. Because Megatron is somewhere. Starscream
Yeah,
won't let anybody talk about it. But then it's like he's like squishing people as much as he can, and then they have to scramble jets to fight these phantom jets that are flying all over the place. And of course, like, Duke is in the co-pilot of one of these ships, one of these
yeah.
planes, and witnesses it firsthand, and it manages to barely escape. And that sends him down this whole friggin' rabbit hole, of starting a team. And to continue off on the GI Joe tangent,
Mhm.
for a little bit too, like, just how brilliant it is that by the time that the Duke miniseries ends, what they're able to do with that, like, establishing 2 Joe teams.
Yeah.
And like, and I'm sorry again, I'm sorry, we're gonna spoil the hell out of this, while we're talking about it. But
No, and to give folks some clarification, so basically, in issue 2 of Transformers, that's when we get our first bit of crossover. So, like Seth said, we've got Decepticons, the jets attacking people, military jets are scrambled out, and Starscream, he finds out humans are fun and squishy, so he loves killing them, or whatever else, and so he destroys a jet. The pilots both eject. The basic pilot, co-pilot ejects. The pilot is killed by Starscream. He literally
just
just
goes
like
like,
does a big
yeah.
clap and squishes him. And the co-pilot attacks Starscream and manages to get away. And we don't know who it is until literally like the last frame, and you see his name badge, and you see the last name Hauser. So
Yeah.
the G.I. Joe fans know that's Duke, baby. And so then the whole Duke miniseries is literally Duke, like, what are these giant transforming robot things? And then finds out his own government already knows about it. They're
Yeah.
trying to peg him like a crazy conspiracy theory guy. And so it's basically Duke versus his own government. But then by the end of it, they let him assemble a G.I. Joe team. But then, as Seth said, we find out that there's a second G.I. Joe team that's being formed to keep an eye on Duke's team
Yeah.
because they still don't trust Duke.
Right. And so it's like, I love the idea that you've got Duke leading like a GI Joe Renegades team, and then you have like a GI Joe team proper that
Uh-huh.
the whole, it's brilliant too, because it's like Duke is pissed during this whole thing, and then he
Yeah.
has to go and get like, they send Stalker and Rock and Roll, and who, or what was the other one, or who else did
Well,
they
Clutch is Duke's
yeah.
best friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so Clutch is in it too. But here's the humdinger is that Baroness is also involved, but Baroness
Yeah.
is part of Duke's team.
Yeah.
She's not with Cobra.
Yeah, Duke flips her. Yeah, because
Yeah, she's
oh
not
man,
nice. She's not like a complete, sweetheart. Let's go make some muffins kind of lady here. But yeah, Duke. You're right. Duke flips her.
right, yeah. But then while all this is going on, you've got while this is going on, you've got Destro with the Mars stuff in his miniseries, and he's trying to become, the lead arms dealer, of the world, or he's trying to make the most money out of it. And of course, he has to go up against Tomax and Zaymont,
Yeah.
with their their schemings. That scene too, like yeah. So Destro is the whole idea of Mars versus what is Tomax and Zaymont's company,
Um.
Idealistic Industries,
No, something is. Oh
it's
shoot.
alliterated with ease, I think.
Something investments or something like that. I thought it was
Yeah,
or anyway. Yeah, but
yeah. But Tomax and Zaymont have their thing, and it's like Destro's all about technology, and Tomax and Zaymont are all about manpower. And so
Mhm,
they've got all the human soldiers and everything, but Destro has invented the battle android trooper, the Bat. And
mhm.
yeah, the whole scene where they have to have in the second issue where they have that little civil war between them, like Tomax and Zaymont's people, and then they blow the hell out of the Bat Factory, and then Destro just pops in and he's like, activate all of them no matter the state that they are in. Yeah, it's like you've got this army of zombie friggin' robots, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah.
Oh, by the way, extensive enterprises.
Extensive.
Extensive.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was alliteration with ease
Mhm.
somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I couldn't exactly remember. But yeah.
But in the Cobra miniseries, we kind of get Cobra Commander's origin, which goes back to the Cobra Law stuff. If you remember your GI Joe, the movie lore there.
They actually even make Cobra Law cool.
Yes, they do. They actually
Or
make
at
Cobra
least
Law
yeah.
cool. And Cobra Commander has A, already discovered Energon, and B, has apparently Megatron in captivity,
Yes.
because we find out that we haven't seen the actual scene of what happened, but we get the gist that Starscream turned his back on Megatron when they got to Earth and incapacitated him in some way, shape, or form. So Megatron was left incapacitated, left for dead. Starscream's now running the Decepticons. But then later on in the series, Starscream ends up getting his back stabbed too by others of his ilk, which is hilarious.
Right.
But uh, but yeah, so they're setting up Megatron to be a bigger problem later on. But yeah, so Cobra Commander's already got Energon. He's already discovered the Transformers themselves. So he and Destro end up forming this partnership because Destro has the resources, Destro's built the weapons, but Cobra Commander has the energy source to power them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to going back to Cobra Law.
Mm,
When at the end of that miniseries, they find out that Cobra Commander has Megatron, and they
mm-hmm.
ain't happy about it because they don't want anything. They don't want their all organic society to have anything to do with these metal abominations, and they are pissed and are about to go to war.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
it's awesome because that's the thing. Yeah, Cobra Law, they have their organic technology, but they didn't like Cobra Commanders meddling with things that weren't organic. And
yeah,
then now, basically, he stole their thing that they weren't going to do anything with anyway. And then there's a lot of stuff here,
right,
but the interesting thing is that Cobra Commander is now depicted not as the sniveling coward that we knew him back in the 80s. This guy is a full on murderous psychopath that does not have any problem with getting his hands red.
right, yeah.
And Destro realizes that he's going to deal with this nut job. And it's literally okay, I have to work with this guy because of what he's got. I don't trust him because he's crazy and he's going to stab me in the back the first opportunity he's got.
Right,
That's
yeah.
the basis of their partnership.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
All right, we got some questions here before we get into further stuff here and some
Okay,
comments
okay.
here. Smokes and Road Beers podcast
What?
tuning in.
That's me.
So saying Enemy Mine is amazing. Yes, I
Yes.
agree with that.
Yeah.
And brings up a good, is it Jetfire or Skyfire?
No, it is Jetfire in
Yeah.
the Void Rivals. Yeah. And
Yeah.
because what was sorry,
what
go ahead.
basically the toy when he was released was Jetfire, but for whatever BS reason, they couldn't call him Jetfire on the cartoon, the 2 episodes he was on, so they had to call him Skyfire.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, some kind of the whole most of the toys from Transformers were taken from other lines from Japanese toys. Jetfire himself was taken from Robotech.
Right.
So he was
Okay.
taken from an
Yeah.
entirely different line whatsoever. So he had like 2 different kind of rights issues going on with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's see. Bill Doris popping in here.
What's up,
Get
Bill?
a 2 for 1 of those folks for every Bill here. So originally, yes, you're right. The Transformers versus G.I. Joe comics were kind of mid.
Yeah. Now I did enjoy. There was that space in the GI Joe comics right around. I believe it was like the 140s where the Generation 2 Transformers showed up, because like I had been collecting them again because they were doing the Ninja Force stuff.
Yep.
And then like at the end of that series, like they're having this big battle in Destro's castle, right? And like Destro's like activating the defenses, so the castle is shifting and moving while it's in there, right? And then like you see these 2 silhouettes and they're like, oh wow, okay, so that thing's transforming. It must be like one of us. And then like by the end of the issue, friggin' Megatron just drops down out of nowhere and he's like, sup. Like, oh, this is the building. Like, and then it starts this whole like weird partnership with Cobra and G.I. Joe, or Cobra and the Decepticons. But yeah, that was I liked that one, but that was the only time, or the only one that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, you are correct about that. Most of the time, because I know Image, when they had the license for both Joe and Transformers, they did a Joe versus Transformers, and again, it's like they never quite clicked, because basically you're basically the Hasbro's trying to protect both of their properties. Essentially, they were afraid to kind of go, we don't want to get too dark for the kids, or we don't want to do this or whatever else. That's the great thing about this Energon universe. They're not afraid to go for the throat.
Right.
Beloved characters were killed off in the first issue of Transformers.
Yeah. Well, and two, it's like with this, the Energon universe is actually giving it time to build. The miniseries were always like, why would we believe that, this highly trained military force wouldn't know about these alien robots that, are all over the frigging country? Yeah. And this is actually a really good question too. Yeah. And
yes, it is.
Because those G.I. Joe movies sucked, but
yeah, that's the thing is, so. And of course, this kind of goes literally back to the 80s, because Transformers, the movie, the animated one in 87, was released, had its controversial, death of Optimus Prime, the death of most of your G1 Transformer, especially your Autobots.
Yeah.
So it upset a lot of kids, and those kids passed it on to their friends. So week 1 of Transformers, the movie, did well. Week 2 bombed, because basically their friends are like, they killed Optimus in the movie, and so it bombed. So basically, G.I. Joe the movie never got released in theaters like it was supposed to, and also they were supposed to kill off Duke in that movie, because again, we're trying to usher in the next wave of guys, so let's kill off some
and they weren't making
ones.
Duke's toy anymore either. Yeah,
right. And so they basically rewrote the movie, so Duke ended up going into a coma after getting a snake plunged into his heart. But he got better by the end of the movie, even though we never actually saw him, but we were told he's fine. And then, yeah. So, and it never got released in theaters. So it ended up being a 5-part miniseries released on television.
But it did give us one of the greatest scenes in movie history, and
opening.
The opening is fantastic. The opening is one of the best animated sequences. I will agree with Bill in the next comment. Yeah, the opening was fantastic. But no, the scene where Sergeant Slaughter fights Nemesis Enforcer. I don't give a yes. That is oh man, that is one of the most fantastic animated wrestling matches I've ever seen. This one's for Alpine Quick Kick and Gung Ho, or this one's for Duke, and this one's for the US of A.
This one's for me.
Yeah, this one's for me.
Oh, love it.
It was this one's for me, and then this one's for the USA. That was the last one.
Yeah,
that was a big rah-rah. Yeah.
God bless you, Sarge.
Yeah.
And so back to Bill's initial question here. For the live action Transformers movies, I think the only reason why they were successful is because they had a little bit larger budget. You had that Michael Bay money. You had your young stars like Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox in the first couple ones. So you had the beginnings of a profitable franchise. Even though it was inaccurate as hell, I didn't start liking the Transformers movies initially, really until the Bumblebee movie was like the relaunch of things, and
Yeah.
those actually look like Transformers. Um, so you had that. The G.I. Joe movies didn't have the budget. They had some stars, but not enough stars, and they were just horribly inaccurate to the franchise. I feel like the first two G.I. Joe movies. There's some fun parts about it, but the most of it is kind of it will piss off a Joe fan. I recommend not even watching Snake Eyes, the origin movie.
Yeah, I never tried that one because I did watch the two GI Joe movies themselves, and yeah, they were. If I were 14 and making a movie, I think I would have made that first GI Joe movie, like
Yeah,
because it would have sounded. But then there was a lot of questionable stuff going on, like. How do you not have Cobra Commander in your GI Joe movie to start with? Like, you can't bank on guaranteeing a sequel. And
hmm
yeah, it's so a lot of those decisions, like I hated the accelerator suits.
yeah,
It's like I wanted my highly trained special missions force, not a bunch of people in Iron Man armor. They got to
right.
do, yeah, it's like they weren't the highly trained special mission force. But
So here's the thing about the Snake Eyes movie. By itself, it's a fine enough action film. There's a lot of action. The performances are decent enough as it is. The choreography is good. Lots of sword fighting and ninja stuff, all that kind of thing.
right.
If you're a Joe fan of any sort, the story will piss you off because it has nothing to do with anything you know of Snake Eyes' origin, especially if you read the Larry Hama comics from the 80s. Like, he's basically a criminal, and he like a petty thief or whatever else, and then gets picked up and basically brought into the Arashikage family, but he still has a bit of a criminal enterprise going on. Sort of all that kind of stupid other stuff they try to
Yeah,
throw in
none of that
there.
was Snake Eyes.
Right. So like it's almost kind of like a reverse movie. It's like he's a bad guy to start with, and then hanging out with the ninjas makes him a good guy. And then, oh, by the way, later he's going to join the G.I. Joe team. They never call him Snake Eyes throughout the movie, so you never know where the nickname comes from. He doesn't actually don the gear and the helmet until literally the last scene of the movie, when it's over and he gets on a motorcycle and puts on the Snake Eyes helmet, and then boom, takes off. Um, they cast Henry Cho, I think is no, not Henry Cho. Anyway, but one of the younger Asian actors, he was in the Crazy Rich Asians movie. He
Okay,
played the
okay,
boy
yeah,
he played the fiance who becomes married to the lead girl and whatnot. So he's
right.
good looking, strapping young man, whatever else. But it's like Snake Eyes wasn't Japanese. He was American.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to ask too, because
Yeah,
that weirded me out. Whenever I got I got that 12-inch Snake Eyes version 2 GI Joe when they were coming out with like the 12-inch versions again, and I
yeah.
wanted to see what he looked like under the mask, and I got pissed off because I took the mask off and like I didn't see anything except for like he had one scarred eye, but he had blonde eyebrows, and I'm like, he's not Asian.
Oh no, yeah.
It was like, yeah, it
And
was like that was the first time I ever knew it, and yeah.
yeah, he's blonde hair, blue eyed, and I can't remember what state he's from. But they said at one point in the Larry Hama comics what state he's from.
I was
But
thinking,
that's
wasn't
about
it a southern state? Like,
it is. Yeah, he's a
okay,
Southern
yeah,
boy,
yeah,
even
because
though he
that's
spends
what.
most of the time. Yeah, he spends most of his time like in the wilds of Washington and Oregon and stuff like that. But
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna look that up real quick.
yeah, but that's the interesting thing too in this new Energon universe. Currently, Snake Eyes is MIA. We have not seen him yet.
Right.
And I got a feeling much because like Megatron, we've at least seen. We've seen half of it because he's missing his lower half for whatever reason. So he's like a torso and a head at this point.
And
Um,
a very crucial piece that shows up in the Transformers, his
yeah,
arm, his gun
yeah,
arm. Yeah.
yeah. The cannon is currently owned by Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he had it stowed away into the trailer. That trailer he always pulls around. Like, what the hell they use that thing for? It's apparently to store Megatron's arm.
Yeah.
So at one
That
point he pulls it out and like,
well, okay, no, you got to back up because you got to tell him why he pulls it out. right?
Oh yeah. So we're getting into um in the third issue of Transformers, Optimus has a knockdown, drag out fight with Skywarp, one of the old school planes, to the point where he rips out Skywarp's arm and starts beating him with it.
No. Optimus rips off his own arm and
Oh yeah,
beats
that's right. Yeah,
Skywarp
because
with it.
Skywarp
Yeah,
got injured. So yeah, so Optimus
yeah,
ripped his own arm off and is beating Skywarp with it. Yes, thank you.
yeah.
Um, Later, a couple of issues later, the Decepticons are attacking again because they've revived more of their cohorts. Who have they revived? The Constructicons. And so it's Optimus versus Devastator, the combined robot of the Constructicons. So that's why he's pulling out the big gun, because he's got to fight literally the biggest damn thing he
Right.
sees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Such
yeah,
exciting shit. I love
it's
this.
so cool. And this is a dark Transformers series too.
Mm-hmm.
Because like after Optimus fights Skywarp, sorry, there's like a fly in here. But after
Oh,
Optimus fights Skywarp, they leave him like they're in the Ark. Like the Autobots are on the run from the Ark because the Decepticons basically have control of it at this point.
yeah.
So Starscream and Soundwave go back there and they find Skywarp all screwed up, from the fight. And he's like, it's like, oh, great, you guys are going to take me back and get, whatever. And they're like, no, we're just going to kill you and take your Energon. And so they do
Yeah.
that, and they integrate him into the Ark. So that basically, like he's living this tortured existence, like integrated to this piece of Autobot equipment that when the
Yeah.
Autobots go back to, they're having trouble using because Skywarp is fused into it.
Right.
And it's like
And
he's in
even
this hell existence. Yeah.
and even though he's in this hellish existence that his own people put him in, he's still being a turd to the Autobots and not just doing what he's supposed to do.
Right. Yeah.
He's like throwing in his own wrench in the works, like, no, I don't like you guys anyway, so I'm going to make it difficult for you to do what you need to do, even though I can make it very easy by just letting you do it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
rest of the Decepticons still think that like they know what happened to Skywarp, that he got fused into the Ark, but they think that the Autobots did it. So that's another
Yeah.
reason why they think that they're all cruel and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's
It's,
so much. Oh, and even the human story in this Transformers series is great too, because it gets heavy and it gets deep. There is loss that is explored
yeah.
in this, and how you deal with it. And it's like, and it makes you like, yeah, it's like it's weird because you've got like, I'm not supposed to be like, getting these emotional pulls with cars that turn into robots, talking to
Mhm.
humans. And
Yeah. But you
it's
do.
still very
Yeah.
yeah, and it's such a good series so far, man.
It is. Soundwave fans definitely have a lot to crow about because he's a very
Oh.
prominent figure in this, more so than he was in the old G1 cartoon. Shockwave is brutal in this series.
Shockwave is Decepticon Joseph Mengele.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
you said that before. Yes, he is. Yeah, Decepticon Joseph Mengele.
yeah,
He tortures people. He is evil. He is horrible.
yeah. He enjoys the torture. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And,
oh man.
and the fun thing is we haven't even we've talked about Duke, we talked about Cobra Commander Industrial, haven't talked about the Scarlet series yet.
Oh yeah, Scarlet. Yeah, when she's trying to infiltrate the Ashikagi clan, and it's like she knows that Jinx is still with them, and she's got a history with Jinx,
Yeah.
and
So
yeah, and
basically, the Scarlet series is essentially a kind of the opening for all of our espionage, spy, ninja stuff. So Scarlet is an operative. We don't entirely know who she's working for. She's not with the Joes because they
right,
don't
yeah,
exist at this point. So we assume CIA, something along those lines. She and Jinx are friends and roommates, but they're both operatives. Well, Jinx has been deep undercover with this ninja clan for a very long time, to the point where she's almost being written off by her superiors. Scarlet is like, I can still get to her and get her out of there. So that's what her whole thing's supposed to be.
yeah.
And of course, we find out more about the Arashikagi clan. You find out more about her and Jinx's relationship and their friendship. And they've got like a secret coded language they have and all kinds of cool stuff like that.
Storm Shadow's there, he's the top ninja of the clan at this point, and like
Yeah,
he's putting Scarlet through her paces.
and
And
other prominent, like the hard master and the soft master, have both been
yeah,
introduced. So pretty much all facets of the ninja and the Arashikagi, all that stuff have been introduced, but one glaring omission: no Snake Eyes yet. They are
right.
literally they're holding on to him So I almost kind of think we may not even see him in the Scarlet series. That he may not show up until the Joe series.
See, that's
Like,
kind of what I'm thinking too, because
yeah, they're waiting for him. Like, they may almost even turn him. Like, he may be a bad guy.
yeah. There's a couple of big beats that I'm waiting for him to happen.
Mm.
Snake Eyes showing up is one of them. Another one is when the Dinobots show up, because I am
Oh,
so curious as to how they're going to handle, because you remember in the original G1 series of the Transformers, Optimus didn't want to turn the Dinobots on.
right.
They were the defective, they were the broken, like they didn't know if they could be trusted Autobots.
Bulls in a
And
china shop, literally.
yeah, exactly. So it's like I want to see how they're handled. I want to see Snake Eyes brought in, and there was another thing too. Oh yeah, and it's how they're slowly drip feeding more of the space Transformer characters in with Void Rivals,
Yeah.
because Rodimus or Hot Rod shows up.
And,
Like
Springer.
yeah, and Springer shows up. Springer shows up, and he's significant in Void Rivals now.
Yeah.
Like he's an extra character. And yeah, it's like you find out more of the deeper connections with the Transformers world and the Void Rivals world and why they're so interconnected. And then that story in and of itself, even if you strip out all the Hasbro stuff and the Energon universe, the Void Rival story itself is still good too. Don't let us like try and dissuade you and say that that is not a significant part, because it is.
No,
Like
yeah.
you will get hooked on the main narrative of that as well.
Yeah, like I said, it's such a fun world, and we're literally just the beginning of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we've had just a slight crossover with Joe and Transformers, or Cobra and the Decepticons, or whatever else, but we haven't had like any full on confrontations yet. Cobra itself as an organization is just barely starting.
Yeah.
GI Joe does not exist. Like, they're still recruiting for Joes.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. So it's like, yeah, we're just on the cusp of this stuff, so it is such a fun time to get involved here.
Oh yeah.
Rushmore Show, good to see you. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
But yeah, it's and the great thing about the Energon Universe, from a buyer's perspective, Robert Kirkman has said, kind of like an mission statement. They said on social media and other editorials that had the books, like they want to keep the price point for their books like at $4. So they've done that across the board. They
Yeah.
only want to have 4 titles out at one point. So that's actually really kind of exciting, because right now we've had Void Rivals and Transformers are our ongoings, and then we've usually had 2 G.I. Joe miniseries. Well, when Scarlet wraps up and Destro wraps up, then we have the G.I. Joe series starting in November. That also leaves
Yeah, it leaves
one opening.
It leaves the one opening, and see, I think that they're going to start that one opening is going to start to cycle through other miniseries for other parts of it, and then maybe eventually get into the big crossover book. Like you wouldn't even necessarily you wouldn't even have to just like start picking up individual issues of everything. But when the stuff really starts to hit the fan, like that's my theory anyway. But
Or something I would like even more, that's even more cost effective, taking a page, again, Image Comics, from the Massive Universe with the Radiant Black stuff. Every year they do a Supermassive book, which is their annuals, but the annuals act as a crossover. So they select whoever characters they're going to get from the Massive Universe, and then they all converge into one volume. It's the size of an annual, so it's a little bit, it's like double the size of your usual, comic. But
right.
it's a self-contained story. It's an annual. You get your crossover, a nice, fun story that wraps up by the end of it, and then everybody kind of goes back to their separate ways. It's like, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But you only had to buy one book.
Right.
That's beautiful. You didn't
Yeah,
have to buy,
that is
12 issues and all the tie-ins and all the other shit. It's like, it's
right.
cool.
Yeah, that's the thing that kills me with some of this stuff, is like that's why I got out of like the big 2 crossovers, is because I just got tired of having to hunt down
Yeah.
like all the stinking tie-in issues, because it was a crapshoot whether or not they were significant or not, but you didn't want to feel like you missed out on anything, and like ugh.
That's one thing I'll hand it to DC. They're doing right now with their current Absolute Power series. The main series for Absolute Power is 4 issues. And then the supplement series is the Task Force 7, which is basically Amanda Waller's new Suicide Squad built of Amazos and all kinds of bad things.
Right.
That's going to be 7 issues. So that we know is significant, because basically that's kind of filling in the blanks that the Absolute Power stuff is. There's a 3-issue origin series on Amanda Waller. So if you really want to know more about Amanda Waller, you can read that. And then outside of that, there's tie-ins for the individual books. So like if you read Superman, he's got a tie-in, Batman, Wonder Woman, etc. But you don't have to buy all this other crap tie-ins. It's literally the main book, Task Force 7.
Right.
Those are really the two you only have to buy. And if you want to get your tie-ins, if you already read Batman, if you already read Wonder Woman on a monthly basis, then you would get those issues and get a little bit more in-depth in that particular character. But yeah, for like the main storyline, you get to basically buy 2 books. And that ain't too bad.
No, that ain't bad at all. Can't knock
So
that.
they're finally starting to learn. But then again, Marvel just wrapped up Blood Hunt. There was, a main storyline and 47 tie-ins on that one. Now they got Venom War going on, and there's a main storyline and 47 one-shots on that one. So it's like, you can't, man. But then again, it's like if they keep producing good stuff, I'm just gonna still keep reading
it. Right? Yeah, that's the thing. Eventually, like if I hear a storyline's good enough, I'll read it and trade later. I'm just not gonna get it. Yeah.
Or you just you just wait till the show and reviews, and I'll pass on stuff to you. And there you go. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, well, that's, I think, going to wrap it up for us this week here on the old Fanatic Forum. But once again, definitely got to plug my boy here, Smokes and Road Beers, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Facebook and Rumble. Check him out. I make appearances on there occasionally as well. But yeah, for more geek stuff.
Right. We use a little more fouler language, so it's it's definitely not an all ages show. It's a TVMA.
They can say F words, so that's fun.
Yeah.
So I get to curse on there, and of course we're trying to get Mr. Bill Doris on the Fanatic Forum here in a very very upcoming episode here in the near future, so we can have ourselves a little mini there. And of course, now I keep wanting to steal guests that you guys have on there because Desiree's awesome. So I got to steal her for the pod.
Yeah, she's already down for that. We just got to set up a scheduling point. Yeah, cool. But she's cool. She'll be good for the forum.
Yes, she will. The thing I love living vicariously through younger readers and newer readers, and I love hearing different perspective on things or whatever else, or kind of opinions on stuff they're discovering for the first time. But then when you get somebody who really gets how the comic stuff works with like the intermingling with the personalities and the emotional stuff and the big beats and the resonate stuff, and then how some of that is mirrored in the movies. Man, Des I've heard her on your old show before, but then hearing her last night talk about some stuff, like, man.
Yeah, she knows her stuff. Yeah.
She's got some wisdom to her that is beyond her years, and that's what I'm here for.
So, yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I dig that in comic fans, and so I'm here for it. So I love bringing those kind of perspectives in there. So so we look forward to bringing Des on the show in a very near future. But either way, of course, we come back in the couple of weeks here. We're probably gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about, so we'll figure out what we're gonna do, and also probably have another Seth's effed up history as well.
Oh, we will definitely have one of them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I still think we're gonna go. The topic is going to be the effed up history of paranormal debunkings, or not. There's not a effed up history of that, but it's like paranormal shenanigans. And so the debunking is going to be a part of that because I'm a big fan of that, and
I know nothing better than taking the piss out of something when it's like, oh, the Amityville horror wasn't really a haunting. The guy just had a lot of mental illness, and there you had creepy floors because it's an old house.
Right? Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Not haunted.
Right. Yeah. The house still looks the same. It's like people. Yeah, the people that live there still have it. Like to this day, it's had multiple owners. That no one else has reported anything ever happening.
Yeah. One absolutely terrible event happened in that household, and nothing bad has happened in that house ever since.
Right? Yeah.
But it spawned 6 movies now?
Oh, at least. Yeah. Amityville is one of those weird ones because it's like, since it's the name of a town, they can't copyright it. So you can make as long as you don't call it the Amityville horror, you can have like Terror in Amityville, or like, the Amityville house, or, anything like that. And, it's like,
Or you could do the third made for TV Amityville horror where it's a evil clock.
Oh yeah. There's that one.
That
Now, I did read the book back in the day, though, when I was a kid, and that thing was a scary book. Like, before no one
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was a good ghost story, I gotta say that,
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I just for funsies. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. Just for funsies, I watched a terrible. Well, it was fun Joe Bob stuff, but the movie itself was terrible. It was the episode he did on "Don't Panic,"
Oh,
which
yeah, yeah,
was a Mexican horror film from the 1980s that basically is best described if the Lifetime channel decided to do horror movies. That's what
yeah,
that's what Don't Panic is.
yeah, it is not a good one. Yeah,
It is
no,
not when you want to see a grown man running around in dinosaur PJs,
yeah.
demon hunting and stuff. With yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was a little rough one. Did you see
Yeah.
last Friday he did Cemetery Man, though?
I haven't watched that one yet, but I saw they
Yeah,
did that one. I was like, oh,
yeah, I watched
Cemetery
that
Man's
one, that
actually
was
a good movie though.
yeah, I love all that yeah, they do it great. I love Darcy in that show, too, like,
Yeah.
her yeah,
Yeah,
her
I know.
costumes and everything.
Again, another lady who's wise beyond her years with knowing horror movies. Like this,
Oh,
the
yeah.
stuff, the factoids, the stuff she's seen, the stuff she's pulled out. It's like, do you watch anything else but horror movies? Or it's like, it's
Yeah,
she's got a lot.
yeah.
She's got a lot of knowledge. But yeah, they've got a big thing coming up for the 6th anniversary.
Yeah, the big marathon's next Friday, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I'm
six
gonna have to catch that a
hours.
couple of days later, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like six.
6
Yeah.
movies, not 6 hours, but it's gonna be a
Oh,
lot
that's right.
longer than 6 hours, yeah. And
Yeah,
the
that's right. Yeah.
movies are not going to be related to each other, so it's not gonna be like one franchise or anything.
Oh, good. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's 6 years, 6 seasons, six movies. That's what it was. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
God bless Joe Bob. Love him. So all right, we've taken up enough of your time this week, folks. Here, so thank you all very much for enjoying the Fanatic Forum. Always remember to like and share the podcast here. Share it with everybody else because this is the place for geeks where you get to talk geek out and enjoy us rambling on about all kinds of stuff.
Yes,
So,
and we will ramble as our newly elongated runtime will attest.
yeah. We try to keep it an hour, but we're better off at least trying an hour and a half. So
We have
the thing is,
never hit an hour.
no,
Yeah.
no. We even tried we're only going to have 2 subjects this week here, and we still went an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we didn't even finish talking about the comic reviews until like an hour in,
Yeah,
but yeah.
that's the fun. 2 geeks just hanging out.
Oh,
having a
yeah,
good time.
that is so much fun. I love doing this because it's like I don't get very many opportunities to talk about this stuff. So it's like, yeah, whenever I'm really into something, yeah, it's like it's fun to share it.
Amen to that, brother. So
Yeah.
you have a good one, sir. I will see you Sunday for
All
All
righty,
In.
sir.
And
Tomorrow, actually. Yeah, we got our collision date.
that's true. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see each other for collision too, but like in person, I'll get to
Right,
see you.
yeah, Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, no virtual, no texting. I actually get to smell the musk that is the man hammer.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. You guys have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all next time on the Fanatic Forum. TTFN.
Yeah.